What's up? This your boy Sports and Knowledge. Shout out to all you guys for giving me so much love. I appreciate it, you guys. I love you guys. Thank you so much for the love. Be sure to hit the like button, smash that subscribe button. Um, I want to go ahead and talk about the Pac-12 conference. Recapping the day from yesterday, I talked about the Big 12 conference, about the emergence of the Big 12. The Pac 12, all I have to do is come up with four teams in the Pac 12. I mean, really two or three. I mean, it's that weak. I mean, it's not like the Big 12 or the other four Power 5 conferences. The main Power 5 conferences: the SEC, Big 10, ACC, Big 12, Pac 12. This year, my prediction for that would be the top four teams in the Pac-12 would be Utah, Oregon, USC, and UCLA. I think that this off season, my phone has been blowing up. My phone been blowing up for USC, man. I mean, they have 20 players in the transfer portal, 20 players, and that's like 25% of their team. If you have not heard, they have the best receiver in the country from last year on their team now. He was a transfer player from Pittsburgh. He played with Kenny Pickett. If those of you don't know Kenny Pickett, he was the first round draft pick quarterback from Pitt. Now he's in the NFL. So now you have Jordan Addison. Jordan Addison is his name. He transferred from Pitt to USC. So USC will have the number one wide receiver in the country coming in, and they're loaded, man. I mean, they have so much talent, so I had to put them in the top four. I know this, man. They were bad. I know they were bad. They went USC went 4-8 last season. I mean, that's horrible. But with this kind of talent, it's hard for me not to say that they're not going to be good this season. I mean, this quarterback they have, Caleb Williams out of Oklahoma. Those of you who don't know the Caleb Williams story, he was a starting quarterback for Oklahoma within like the after the first 5-6 games of Oklahoma. Spencer Rattler was the starting quarterback at Oklahoma until Caleb Williams took over. Spencer Rattler he did a poor job, man. I mean, but Caleb Williams came and did well, so they got him as a top 5 Heisman favorite this season. Caleb Williams for UFC quarterback. So let's get right into it, guys. The first thing I'm gonna discuss is the top 5 coaches in the Pac-12. Top 5 coaches. Number one, Lincoln Riley. So Lincoln Riley was a coach that came out of Oklahoma. He's 55-10 in Oklahoma as a head coach. This will be his first year head coaching at USC. But I think he'll already be the best coach in the Pac-12. He's 1-3 bowls. He's 1-3 in bowl games. Of course, losing to teams like Alabama, those big New Year's bowls, Alabama, Georgia. They beat him, of course. But just to get those guys there from Oklahoma was a bit of accomplishment. He also lost to LSU. He lost to the 2019 LSU national championship team. He lost the 2018 Alabama team, and he lost to the 2017 Bama team when he went to those bowl games. This guy is only 38 years old, man, and he's a terrific head coach. He's probably one of the best offensive minds in the Pac-12. He spent 5 years with Oklahoma from 2017 to 2021. So I think he handled the transfer portal very well. Like I said, he got 20 players from the transfer portal, so he did real well. So. Number 2 is Kyle Whittingham from Utah. I think that Utah has probably been the most consistent team in the Pac-12. Utah has been very consistent from the last 4 years. They've been very consistent, and they also are the previous Pac-12 champions. Those of you that know football, they play Ohio State in the Rose Bowl, I believe, and they lost by like 3 points, I think. I mean, not very much, but they're very good. Kyle Willingham is a very good talent developer. Utah is not very high in recruiting. I mean, a lot of guys don't come out of high school don't want to go to Utah, but if you get the players, man, he get a bunch of 3 stars, and he rarely get a 4-star, but they produce well. The Jacksonville Jaguars took him Devin Lloyd from last year in the first round, and he wasn't real big in as far as a high star. they are very consistent at Utah. They usually have 9 to 10 win seasons. So that's my second best coach, Kyle Whittingham. My third best coach is Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly, he made Oregon who they are. Once USC, I think 2006, USC went down. They received a death penalty, and ever since then, Oregon kind of took that, and ran with it. Oregon is very good lately. Oregon should be better this year. Well, as far as the games they lost, they shouldn't have lost, man. I mean, they shouldn't have lost some of those games they lost. Like, for instance, they lost to Stanford. They lost to Stanford 24-31. I mean, Stanford was one of the worst teams in the Power 5, I believe. But they do have a good coach, David Shaw, and I'm going to talk about him next after Chip Kelly. But now Chip Kelly is the head coach of UCLA. UCLA, they had a pretty bad year last year, but they went 8-4, so I think they can do a lot better this season. We'll see how that goes. They might remain the same. They might. We'll check it out at the schedule. David Shaw is my fourth best coach. I got David Shaw, the fourth best coach. He is 93-45 at the Pac-12. He went 3-9 last season, and I would think that maybe he might be in the hot seat. If he does not do well this season or next season, he will be gone. But I do respect him. He has 3 Pac-12 championships. That's pretty good out of Stanford. He coached Andrew Luck. He coached quite a few players out of that school. Number 5 is Dan Lanning. Georgia fans know exactly who Dan Lanning is. I mean, he was the defensive coordinator at Georgia. All those Georgia players that was coming in the draft, NFL draft this past season. He coached a lot of those players. This would be his first year ever being a head coach. I think that he has a lot to prove at Oregon. I mean, Oregon had some losses against Stanford, and they lost to Utah twice. Other than that, they had big wins against Ohio State last year. So, I mean, Oregon should be pretty good this year. I got some questions with Bo Nix at that quarterback, though. So let's get right into it. Let's talk about UCLA. UCLA is they went 8-4 last season. Their quarterback, DTR, is Dorian Thompson Robinson. This guy's pretty good. He went 594 out of 977 in passing. He had over 7,500 yards, 61 touchdowns, and only 26 interceptions in his career at UCLA. One of the most consistent running backs in the nation is Zach Charbonnet. He had over 200 rushes and 0 fumbles. He don't fumble the ball, guys. This is a very dependable back, coming out the backfield. And he can catch pretty good coming out the backfield, He's probably a top 3 running back in the Pac-12. Their wide receiver core, Allen and Brown, they have a lot to prove this season. So we'll have to see what they can do in the receiver. They are returning. They will have the best. Not the best, but the 9th best offensive line unit in the Pac-12. Now defensive-wise, they will have They had the number 2 defense last year. I'm not sure they will have the second best this year or top 5 this year because they have lost some key players. But they do have Darius Mausu. I think that's his name, Mausu. He's a transfer from Hawaii. He would be like the main player on that defensive line. But my question is for that defense at UCLA would be the inexperience. Okay, so let's go over to Oregon. Oregon, I think they'll be 3rd this year in the Pac-12. They got a fresh head coach, never coached before. Never been a head coach before. I'm sorry. They got a new quarterback, Bo Nix. Auburn fans know exactly who Bo Nix is. He started for Auburn. He had plenty of opportunities. He had plenty of chances at Auburn, but he couldn't get it done at Auburn. So he went to Oregon. The head coach from Oregon went Cristobal. He went to Miami. They have Dan Lanning now at the head coach position. Running back, they have Byron Caldwell. Receiver, they have Troy Franklin. I think Troy Franklin's pretty good. I can see some flashes from him this season. Dante Thornton's Seven McGee. They will be returning the best offensive lineman in the Pac-12. That is a good thing for Bo Nix. The offensive lineman is T.J. Buss. T.J. Buss was pretty good last season. They had the fifth best defense last year. They had the fifth best defense. They had a defensive lineman. He was all Pac-12. Brandon Doris. He had a career tackles 44, 11 tackles for loss, and 4.5 sacks. Now this guy right here is going to play on Sundays. His name is Noah Sewell. He's one of the best linebackers in the nation, so look out for him. He's going to be there for Oregon. So Oregon will have a pretty decent defense this season. This is my pick to win the Pac-12 is Utah, but I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised at all if USC pull it out, man. I mean, USC got all that talent. Like I said, they got a Heisman favorite in Caleb Williams, and they got the #1 receiver in the nation. So, but like I said, it's going to take a lot of chemistry for those guys to get it together. But as I was saying, Utah will probably have a top 3 quarterback. He was definitely top 3 quarterback last season in the Pac-12. That's Cameron Rising. Cameron Rising, he led that team all the way to the Rose Bowl. I got running back Tavion Thomas. He has a career of 21 touchdowns and over 2,700 yards. That is really good. They will have the best tight end combination in the Pac-12. They have the best tight end in the Pac-12 in Trent Keithy. He had over 129 catches and 1,600 yards, 13 touchdowns. They will have the third best offensive line in the Pac-12. So let's go to defense. Defense, they will have the #1 defense. They had the #1 defense last year in the Pac-12. They are returning Clark Phillips. Clark Phillips, I watched him in the Rose Bowl when they played Ohio State. He was pretty good against Ohio State best receiver. He didn't lock him down or nothing. Of course, you can't lock that guy down. I think his name is JSC Jackson. That's Ohio State starting wide receiver. He's probably gonna go first round whenever he's eligible to make the draft. Cole Bishop. Cole Bishop is a safety, starting safety. He's very consistent. He had over 50 tackles as a true freshman last season. So, and they will have the second best defensive line tandem in the Pac-12. Now, USC. This is so hard for me to talk about. Like I said, I like Florida. I like Mississippi State. I like Jackson State, but I saw so many good players that Florida, Mississippi State, either one of those schools could have got through in the transfer portal, but, they went to USC. USC is going to continue to grow and continue to get good players. I'm going to go out by naming these players. Caleb Williams, like I said, he's from Oklahoma. He's a Heisman favorite this year. He's probably a top 5 Heisman favorite. Travis Dye, he was 5th all-time in Oregon rushing yards. So he's a transfer running back from Oregon. So they got him in the transfer portal. So they got Oregon, one of the greatest Oregon running backs coming to USC. You see what I'm saying? And so they got Jordan Addison, one of the greatest wide receivers, because he won the Blinkenkoff Award, which means the best wide receiver award. They have Jerry Rice's son, Brendan Rice. They have him. They have Taj Washington, Gary Bryant Jr., and Mario Williams. Mario Williams, he's familiar with the chemistry of Caleb Williams because they played at Oklahoma together. Mario Williams was the second best receiver behind Marvin Mims at Oklahoma, so he's coming to start immediately at USC. USC also will have one of the best defensive linemen in the Pac-12. That's Andrew Voorhees. No, he's not related to Jason Voorhees, but this dude is huge. So USC will have the 4th best offensive lineman in the country. Now, I don't have any questions about this head coach new offensive mind. I think that he has a great offensive mind. But, what about defense? I think about his defense ability. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think Lincoln Riley defense has always been the issue at Oklahoma and USC. So we're gonna see what he do at USC, but he had a terrible, inconsistent defense at Oklahoma. You know, you can never count on them. But they would definitely have. You better get your popcorn ready for this offense. Like I said, they got one of the best quarterbacks, one of the best running backs, one of the best receivers in the conference. So let's go with the defense, though. I think that they do have a spearhead on their defense, which is he's Hawaiian, Tuli Tupalato. He was first team All Pac-12. He had 5.5 sacks. The last time USC won 8 games was 2017. So I got USC winning 9 games this year. So I'm sorry, I got USC winning 10 games this year, and I'm about to go over their schedule right now. Oregon. I got Oregon losing to Georgia. They played Georgia the first game of the season. That's going to be at home, but I think they're not good enough to beat Georgia. At me being a Florida fan or a SEC fan or a Mississippi State fan, I know that how good Georgia is. You know, I mean, it's going to be rough. Eastern Washington, I think they'll beat Eastern Washington. BYU, now that's a team to watch, BYU. Like I said, they beat Utah last year. That's a scary team to look for. Washington State, they play Washington State away. I think they'll beat Washington State. Stanford was one of the worst teams in the Power 5 last year. They'll beat Stanford. Arizona was definitely one of the worst teams in the Power 5. They would definitely beat Arizona. UCLA, they will beat UCLA. They play UCLA at home. Cal, I think they'll beat Cal. Colorado, I think they'll beat Colorado. Washington, they will beat Washington. Now here's where you get tricky here at the end of the year. Oregon plays Utah and Oregon State. Oregon State did not lose a game at home last year. I think they went 6-0 at home, and they played them, at Oregon State. And Utah is good. Like I said, it's either between USC and Utah to win the Pac-12 this year for me. So I have them losing those last 2 games of the season with Utah and Oregon State. Let's go to UCLA. UCLA, I think they will begin the season with 4-0 because really they don't. Well, maybe 5-0. I think they'll be 5-0. Their competition level is not that high in the first 5 games of the season. They playing Georgia State, that's a win. Alabama State, that's a win. South Alabama's a win, and Colorado's a win. Now they may or may not win against Washington, but I think they will beat Washington. Washington, I think they won 4 games last year. Utah, they play Utah at Utah. I think Utah will beat them. Utah will, they're Pac-12 champions. Oregon. They will lose to Oregon. I think they'll beat Stanford. Arizona State, they play Arizona State away. I got them losing to Arizona State. And I have them beating Arizona, and I have them losing to USC and beating Cal. So I have the UCLA going 8-4 in the 2022 season. Utah kick it off the season, 2022 season, playing against the University of Florida, one of my favorite schools. But I might be biased on this. I have Florida beating Utah. I know we got a new coach in Billy Napier, and I know we are rebuilding mode at University of Florida. But I don't know. I just think that USC speed, that USC talent will overpower that Pac-12 competition. I may be wrong, but man, I wouldn't be surprised if Utah win this game, man. Like, I would not be surprised if Utah win this game. But like I said, I picked Florida to win this game. First game of the season when Utah goes on, and Utah goes to Florida, so that makes a big difference as well. So, the second game they play in Southern Utah. I think they'll beat Southern Utah. The next game is September 17th. They playing San Diego State. Last year, they lost to San Diego State. San Diego State beat them 33-31 in overtime. So, I mean, this would be a good game, but I got them beating San Diego State. Next, they play Arizona State. I think they'll beat Arizona State. Even though they have Emory Jones, a transfer from Florida, he was Florida's starting quarterback last season. I dislike, man. I dislike Emory Jones, man. Emory Jones was very inconsistent. I mean, every time we get on second or third down, I mean, we could never get third and short. We always was third and long, and he couldn't. He wasn't. He was a very inconsistent passer. So I mean, if I'm Utah with that defense that Utah have, I think they'll go after Arizona State. So um, Oregon State, they playing Oregon State at home. Now, if they play Oregon State at away, if they had to go to Oregon State, I would probably pick Oregon State. But like I said, they playing Oregon State in Utah, so they have a great chance of winning the game. Because, like I said, Oregon State was undefeated at home last season. I have UCLA. I think they'll beat UCLA. Now, this USC game. Sorry, I got a phone call. This USC game is going to be hit and miss right here. I think they'll beat USC, but it's going to be a good game as well. Washington State. I think they'll beat Washington State. Arizona, I think they'll beat Arizona. Stanford, I think they'll beat Stanford. Now, last year they played Oregon 2 times. They played them in the regular season. They played them in the Pac-12 championship, and they beat them both times. This year, it's going to be hard to beat Oregon 2 times. I got them losing to Oregon in the regular season. And the last game of the season against Colorado, I have them beating Colorado. I have Utah going 10-2. That is the record I have for Utah. I got them going 10-2, guys. Now, last but not least, I have USC. This is going to be a very interesting season for USC fans. Last year they went 4-8. I would be surprised if USC with Lincoln Riley as the head coach go 4-8. Lincoln Riley is one of the best coaches in college football, period. He's definitely probably a top 2 offensive-minded head coach. I mean, ever since he was a head coach at Oklahoma, they always competed for one of those big bowl games. So, I mean, like I said, USC kick it off with Rice at home. They will definitely beat Rice. This game right here against Rice, it would not be close. It would not be close at all. I wouldn't be surprised if that offense at USC with Caleb Williams, one of the Heisman favorites, and Jordan Addison, one of the best the best receiver in the country. They are gonna probably have 50 points against Rice. The next game I have Stanford losing. They will beat the brakes off Stanford. Now Fresno State is a tricky team. They beat a couple Pac-12 teams last season. But I have USC beating Fresno State this year. And I have auntie that is from Fresno, so I don't think she's a Fresno State fan. I think she's an Ohio State fan because that's where they live now. But they would beat Fresno State. Now, they will have to go on the road to Oregon State. This 4-game stretch, these 4 games right here, man, they play Oregon State, Arizona State, Washington State, and Utah. I think that those 4 games right there will be a backbreaker for USC. They play at Oregon State, they play home Arizona State, and they play Washington State at home, and they go at Utah. I think they'll be 2-2 within that 4-game stretch. I think they'll be 2-2 in that 4-game stretch. I got them beating. I got them losing to Oregon State because, like I said, Oregon State was undefeated at home. They were 6-0 at home, so they go to Oregon State. I got them beating Arizona State. I got them beating Washington State, and I have them losing to Utah. I have them beating Arizona. Arizona's one of the worst Power 5 teams in the nation. I have them beating Cal. I have them beating Colorado and UCLA right down the street. UCLA and USC are right next to each other, right down the street. They're next door neighbors almost. Now, this one right here, a lot of people pick Notre Dame to win this game, but I think that, okay, this is the thing with USC and Notre Dame. both are new head coaches teams. Both teams have new head coaches. But Notre Dame head coach, he never coached as a head coach before. But USC head coach was the head coach at Oklahoma, and like I said, he went 55-10 at Oklahoma, and he had all these big bowl games that he appeared in at Oklahoma, and he got all these good guys, these recruits, man. He, like I said, he has a Heisman favorite, and he has the best receiver in the nation. I really think that, and Notre Dame would have to come to the Coliseum at USC, and so I got USC beating Notre Dame. So I got USC 10-2. They could go 9-3. They could go 8-4. I mean, USC has the talent. They have the coach now, so they should go 10-2. I wouldn't be surprised if USC win the Pac-12, but right now I have Utah winning the Pac-12 again. Going on a repeat. I really do. But I would not be surprised if USC win the the Pac-12. I'm sorry, the Pac-12. But it's going to be interesting for those three teams, Oregon, USC, and Utah. So let me know what you guys think, man. Let me know in the comment section. Make sure you hit the like button and smash the subscribe button. I love you guys. Thank you for everything. Have a good one.